Lila Thompson had worked double shifts at the upscale Crestwood Bistro for 3 years, her hands steady as she balanced trays of champagne flutes and plates of gourmet appetizers. But nothing could have prepared her for the moment she stepped into the sprawling mansion of Arthur Grayson, a millionaire regular at the bistro, and saw her own childhood face staring back at her from a framed photo on his wall, a photo she hadn't seen since she was 7, taken in a life she'd long buried. What was it doing in this stranger's home, and why did it unravel a secret that would change everything she thought she knew about her past? Lila's day began like any other, with the hum of the bistro's kitchen and the clink of cutlery against fine china. She was 28, quick on her feet, with a warm smile that hid the exhaustion of long hours and a life spent scraping by. Raised in foster care after losing her mother at 6, Lila had no family to lean on, no safety net. Her childhood was a blur of group homes and temporary placements, each one stripping away a little more of her sense of belonging. The bistro job, though grueling, was steady, and she prided herself on knowing the regulars, especially Arthur Grayson, the silver-haired millionaire who tipped generously and always asked for her section. Lila, table 12's ready for their entrees, her manager, Carla, called out that evening. Lila nodded, weaving through the crowded dining room with a tray of seared scallops. Arthur was at his usual corner table, his tailored suit impeccable, his eyes scanning a tablet. He was in his late 60s, a widower with a reputation for quiet philanthropy and a knack for making anyone feel like they mattered. Lila liked him. He never talked down to her, never made her feel like just a waitress. "Good evening, Mr. Grayson," she said, setting the plate before him. "Your usual salmon, cooked just the way you like it." He looked up, his blue eyes crinkling at the corners. "Lila, you're a gem. How's your evening going?" "Busy, but I'm managing," she replied, her tone light but professional. "Anything else I can get you?" "Not tonight, but I've got a favor to ask." He leaned forward slightly, lowering his voice. "I'm hosting a small dinner at my place tomorrow night. Just a few colleagues, nothing too formal. My usual catering staff is unavailable, and I could use someone I trust to help serve. Would you be up for it? I'll pay double your usual rate." Lila hesitated. She'd never worked a private event before, and the idea of stepping into a millionaire's home felt daunting. But double pay was hard to turn down. "I need to check with Carla, but yeah, I think I can make it work." "Excellent," Arthur said, sliding a card across the table with an address and time. 7 o'clock. "And Lila, bring that smile of yours. It'll brighten the room." She pocketed the card, her mind already calculating how the extra money could cover her overdue electric bill. "I'll be there, Mr. Grayson." The next evening, Lila arrived at the address on the card, a gated estate in the hills outside the city. She wore her black work uniform, her hair pulled back in a neat bun, her nerves buzzing. A security guard waved her through, and she parked her beat-up sedan next to sleek cars that looked like they cost more than her entire life's earnings. Arthur greeted her at the door, his demeanor as warm as ever. "Lila, thank you for coming," he said, ushering her inside. "You'll be serving drinks and appetizers, maybe helping with cleanup. Nothing too complicated. My guests are easygoing." "Got it," she said, forcing a confident nod. "Just point me to the kitchen." The night unfolded smoothly at first. Lila moved through the crowd of 8 guests, mostly older men and women in business attire, pouring wine and passing hors d'oeuvres. She kept her head down, her movements precise, blending into the background as she always did. But during a lull, as she refilled a tray in the hallway, her eyes caught on a framed photo on the wall. It was small, unassuming, tucked between larger portraits of landscapes and abstract art. But the face in it stopped her cold. It was her. A 7-year-old Lila, gap-toothed and beaming, her braids tied with red ribbons, sitting on a park bench. The photo was grainy, slightly faded, but unmistakable. She hadn't seen it in over 20 years, not since her mother died, and her world fell apart. Her heart pounded, her tray nearly slipping from her hands. "Everything okay, Lila?" Arthur's voice snapped her back. He was standing a few feet away, a glass of bourbon in hand, watching her with a curious expression. She swallowed hard, her voice barely steady. That photo, where did you get it? Arthur followed her gaze, his brow furrowing slightly. That? Oh, it's been in the family for years. My late wife, Eleanor, loved that picture. Said it reminded her of someone she once knew. Lila's mind raced. Someone she knew? Who? Arthur's expression softened, but there was a flicker of something, hesitation maybe. It's a long story, Lila. Why don't we talk after the guests leave? I don't want to bore you now. She wanted to press him, but the moment passed as a guest called for more wine. For the rest of the evening, Lila's thoughts churned. How could a photo from her childhood, when she barely remembered, end up here? Her mother, Renee, had been a single parent, struggling to make ends meet in a small apartment. Lila had no memories of anyone like Arthur or his wife in their lives. When Renee died in a car accident, Lila was shuffled into foster care, her mother's belongings lost to the chaos. That photo was one of the few keepsakes she'd had, and it vanished with everything else. After the guests left, Lila found Arthur in the study, a cozy room lined with bookshelves. He was pouring himself another drink, his movements slow, deliberate. You did wonderfully tonight, he said. I hope it wasn't too much trouble. It was fine, Lila said, her voice tight. But that photo, I need to know where it came from. That's me, Mr. Grayson. I was 7 when it was taken. Arthur froze, the glass halfway to his lips. For a moment, he said nothing, his eyes searching her face. Then he set the glass down and sighed. I was afraid you might recognize it. Sit down, Lila. This isn't a simple story. She sat, her hands clasped tightly in her lap, her pulse racing. Just tell me, please. Arthur leaned back in his chair, his gaze distant. Eleanor and I never had children of our own. We tried for years, but it wasn't in the cards. In the early 90s, we got involved with a local charity that supported single mothers. One of them was a woman named Renee Thompson. Lila's breath caught. My mother? He nodded. Renee was young, determined, but struggling. The charity helped with rent, groceries, things like that. Eleanor took a special interest in her. They became close, almost like sisters. Renee would bring you to the charity's community center, and Eleanor adored you. That photo, you gave it to her one day, said it was a thank you for the toys she'd bought you. Lila's mind reeled. She had no memory of this, no recollection of Eleanor or the charity. Why don't I remember her? You were so young, Arthur said gently. And after Renee passed, things moved quickly. You were taken into foster care, and Eleanor was devastated. She wanted to find you, to make sure you were okay, but the system, it's not easy to track a child once they're in it. She kept that photo, though. Said it was a reminder of the little girl who brought her so much joy. Tears stung Lila's eyes, but she blinked them back. Why didn't you tell me? You've known me for years at the bistro. You had to know my name. Arthur's face clouded with regret. I didn't put it together at first. Lila's a common enough name, and you are just a child in Eleanor's stories. It wasn't until a few months ago, when you mentioned you grew up in foster care, that I started to wonder. I didn't say anything because I wasn't sure, and I didn't want to upset you without proof. Proof. Lila's voice rose. That's my face on your wall. What more proof do you need? He held up a hand, his tone steady but kind. I know. I'm sorry. I should have said something sooner. But there's more, Lila. Eleanor left something for you in her will. She passed 5 years ago, but she never stopped hoping she'd find you. Lila's heart thudded. What do you mean, left something? Arthur stood and walked to a safe in the corner of the study. He punched in a code, opened it, and pulled out a thick envelope. This, he said, handing it to her. It's a letter, and you'll see. Lila's hands trembled as she opened the envelope. Inside was a handwritten letter, the ink slightly faded, but the words clear. It was addressed to her. Dear Lila, it began. If you're reading this, it means Arthur found you, or you found us. I'm so sorry I couldn't be there for you after your mother passed. You were the brightest light in my life, and losing you broke my heart. I've left you something to help you build the life you deserve. I hope it brings you the security and freedom you need. With all my love, Eleanor. Tucked behind the letter was a legal document. Lila scanned it, her eyes catching on phrases like trust fund and beneficiary. Her breath hitched. What is this? Arthur sat across from her, his voice soft. Eleanor set up a trust for you before she died. It's not a fortune, but it's enough to change things. College, a home, a fresh start. She wanted you to have options, to know you were loved. Lila's mind spun. A trust fund? From a woman she couldn't even remember? How much? She asked, her voice barely a whisper. About $200,000, Arthur said. It's been accruing interest for years. It's yours, Lila, whenever you're ready to claim it. She stared at the document, the numbers blurring through tears. $200,000. It was more money than she'd ever imagined having. Enough to quit the bistro, to go back to school, to breathe without the weight of bills and rent crushing her. But it wasn't just the money that shook her. It was the idea that someone, all those years ago, had cared enough to plan for her future. Why didn't she adopt me? Lila asked, her voice breaking. If she loved me so much, why didn't she take me in? Arthur's eyes filled with pain. She wanted to. God. She begged me to help her make it happen. But I was stubborn, Lila. I was focused on my career, on building our wealth. I told her we weren't ready for a child, that it was too much responsibility. After Renee died, Eleanor tried to find you, but the foster system was a maze, and we didn't have the legal standing. By the time we got anywhere, you'd been moved to another state. She never forgave herself. Or me. Lila clutched the letter, her fingers tracing Eleanor's handwriting. I don't know what to say. It's too much. You don't have to say anything, Arthur said.
Take your time.
Read the letter again. Think about what you want. The trust is yours, no strings attached. And Lila, I'm sorry I didn't connect the dots sooner. I should have. She nodded, her throat tight. Can I keep the photo? Arthur smiled, a sad, wistful smile. It's yours. It always has been. Lila left the mansion that night with the envelope and the framed photo tucked under her arm, her mind a whirlwind of emotions. She drove home in a daze, the city lights blurring past her. At her small apartment, she sat on her couch, the photo in her lap, staring at the little girl she used to be. The red ribbons, the park bench, the smile. She could almost feel the warmth of that day, the ghost of her mother's hand in hers. The next morning, Lila called Carla and asked for a week off. She needed time to process, to decide what came next. She spent hours reading and rereading Eleanor's letter, each word a thread connecting her to a past she'd thought was lost. She called a lawyer to verify the trust, half expecting it to be a mistake, but the documents were real. The money was real. Over the next few days, Lila began to dream again. She'd always wanted to study social work, to help kids like her, kids who felt invisible in the system. The trust could pay for college, for a degree that would let her make a difference. But more than that, it gave her something she'd never had, a sense of being wanted, of being seen. She returned to the bistro a week later, her step lighter, her smile genuine. Arthur was there, at his usual table, and when he saw her, he stood, his expression hopeful. Lila, he said. How are you holding up? She slid into the seat across from him. Something she'd never done before. I'm figuring it out. I read the letter. I talked to a lawyer. It's real, isn't it? It's real, he said. Eleanor would be so happy to know you're here. Lila took a deep breath. I want to use it for school. Social work. I want to help kids who don't have anyone. Like Eleanor helped me. Arthur's eyes shone with pride. She'd love that. And Lila? If you ever need anything, advice, a reference, even just someone to talk to, I'm here. For the first time in years, Lila felt a weight lift. She wasn't alone. She hadn't been forgotten. The photo, the letter, the trust, they were proof that her past wasn't just loss and struggle. There had been love there, too, waiting for her to find it. Thank you, Mr. Grayson, she said, her voice steady. For everything. Call me Arthur, he said with a smile. And thank you, Lila, for reminding me what matters. As Lila walked back to the kitchen, the photo tucked safely in her bag, she felt something she hadn't in years. Hope. The